Welcome, fellow freaks, geeks, and nostalgic peeps, to my channel, Simon Slashers, where, yeah, we talk about everything from Nickelodeon slime to horror movie slashers, but plenty of stuff in between, but mostly books. And today's video, it is another book-themed video. I'm doing another recommendation video for Old School April. This one is filled with books that I have not read, but they are on my eventual TBR, not my Old School April 2024 TBR, but I wanted to put these books on your radar in case you're looking for some thematic things to read that couldn't fit many prompts. So without further ado, let's go to the short intro, and when we come back, we will go through all of the recs. Welcome back, guys! Okay, let's get into it. As I said, I have not read any of these, but I own a majority of the books I'll be talking about today, so clearly I do want to read them at some point, or else I would not have bought them. So let's go through it. There'll be a mix of vintage things, but plenty of new things. In fact, I think there's more newer books that have a nostalgic flair, or newer books that meet other Old School April prompts, and a few old school books, but not too many. I do want to say that if you don't know what Old School April is, it is a readathon, watchathon, and activity-a-thon. So if you don't like to read, that's okay. You don't need these book recs, but stay tuned because there'll be lots of stuff that will appeal to you during April, including movie content, but there's plenty of movie prompts so you can dig in and participate in April with us even if you don't like to read. So please keep that in mind. You can just be a fan of doing nostalgic activities or nostalgic themed activities that have nothing to do with actually nostalgia itself. For instance, building a puzzle of any kind, that kind of thing. You can do that to participate. So easy to participate. So if you want more details, I will link my announcement video below. So most of these books will not be on my TBR, but I just want to put one book in the front of this rec video that will be on my TBR, and it is my book club book for the month of April 2024, and my book club, the Midnight Book Society, named after Are You Afraid of the Dark, very appropriate. We will be reading The Never-Ending Story. I have never read the book. I love the 80s movie, though, of course. It's an all-time favorite movie of mine. I am very intrigued to see what the book is like compared to the movie, and I will be having a live book chat in the beginning of the month of May with my two friends, Amy, who's a co-host at Amy Noel Reads, and my friend Crystal over at the channel Fiber Artsy. Please subscribe to both of them if you aren't already, and if you feel like digging into The Never-Ending Story, join us. So this is the only book I'll be talking about that is definitely on my TBR for this April, and I just wanted to remind everyone that if you read this, you'll get an extra point because it's a host rec / book club pick. It's my book club pick, and it could be a fun nostalgic time. So here's one idea for you. And the other book I want to talk about that's not on my TBR because I don't think I can fit it in, but it is a host rec. It's the rec of my co-host and friend Alex over at the channel The Bookubus. This just looks fantastic. It would work for Neon on the cover. It would work for, I think, the Time Warp prompt, because this has nostalgic vibes, since I think the main character, Alex said, is obsessed with the past. And even on the cover you can see there are movie references, like movie scene depictions from old school movies. Pretty in Pink, I think there's Scarface up here, Pulp Fiction, so this could be a great idea for you if you're looking for something. Another host rec that I do not own, but sounds interesting, I doubt I'll get to it, Shit Actually, the definitive 100% objective guide to modern cinema by Lindy West. This is the host rec from Kelly over at Kelly Hooked on Books, and there is an audiobook. And another host rec that sounded interesting to me that I wanted to make sure to shout out that I have not read and I can't read probably this April, Helter Skelter. This is a nonfiction book, of course. The True Story of the Manson Murders by Vincent Bugliosi and Kurt Gentry from 1974, and there is audio for that as well. There's many other things I have not mentioned, and it could be because it's on my TBR, so stay tuned for my TBR video, which will have lots of books, probably too many books discussed, so stay tuned. First, let's start off with middle grade and YA, and I have less of these, so if you want to skip forward to the more adult books, go ahead, but this will take just a second. Alright, so here are some Goosebump-esque series books, and a lot of them are newer series, but they're still in the Goosebumps vein. You could probably count these for the time warp prompt, because they probably all have nostalgic vibes in one way, shape, or form, in that they're all little spooky series, like Goosebumps was back in the 90s, so that's a little bit nostalgic right there. And again, that's up to interpretation what you think is nostalgic vibes, or what you consider to be nostalgic vibes in a book. But all of these, of course, would fit our Goonies prompt, which is to read a middle grade or YA book, so there's that too. So here we have a Scream Street book. There's many of these. This is number 1. Fang of the Vampire. Cute. I mentioned this in my other recommendation video. I have read 3 of the 4 Monster Street books, but I wanted to shout out the series here because you should really check it out if you haven't already, and this is the one that I have not read, but I heard it's really good. It's kind of like a werewolf story, and this is The Boy Who Cried Werewolf. Look at these wonderful colors. It kind of matches my background and my shirt. Well, my shirt's not that green. It's more subdued. I'm representing St. Patty's Day, flogging Molly. Anyway, also kind of got a different green. I got Goosebumps green on. Speaking of Goosebumps, this is the mask from The Haunted Mask, the movie. Nostalgic and thematic. The Creepover books are so cute. I know my friend Elizabeth Sagewood is a big fan of this series. I know my friend Cameron's talked about this series. This is one of the Halloween books in the series, No Trick or Treating. These are so cute, and they've got a little creepometer on the back to show you how scary or not scary it is. It goes all the way from Sleep Like a Baby, which is like the low end of the scale, all the way to 5. I can't even see what 5 is, but number 4 is Sleep with the Lights On. Here we have another modern middle grade series, but it's definitely spooky, Creepers, and this is number 1, Cold Kisser. Oh, get those lips away from me, bitch! They're frozen! I don't know. You wouldn't think a pair of lips is scary, but I guess in this case, they are. Here we have the Frightland series. This is book number 1, The Wild Man of Shaggy Creek. I'm just making sure it's number 1. It is. Some of these I've heard that actually book number 1 is not the best, but it gets better as it goes, and I think I heard that from Cameron, of course. He is the middle grade master. Really, he's the book master, period. So check out his channel. He's a co-host over at the channel Library Macabre. Here's another series. I told you I had a lot. Twisted Books to Leave You Shook by C.S. James. Here's another one. Don't Be Scared. That's the series, and this one's Monster Box. Now for some YA quickly, and we only have one that is truly vintage, which is a bind-up, a new edition bind-up of the Cheerleader True Evil series from Fear Street. So my friend Amy got this for my birthday. Thank you so much, Amy. You're too sweet. I love you. I still have to send your birthday present to you. It's just sitting around at my house. I've got to get to that. But this would be a great thing to dig into. I want to dig into it. I just don't think I'm going to be able to in April, but I'm dying to get to this. If I can't get to it this April, it's freaking absolutely going to be on my TBR for next April, because Old School April is going to be coming back every single year, guys. Just mark it on your calendar and assume it's coming back, because unless I say otherwise, every year I plan on it coming back. So this could be great. And if you've got room on your TBR, this could be good for you for this year. A book that I know I've heard Cameron talk about, this is Hall of Mirrors, a retro thriller by Charles Ashe. And this is very Christopher Pike-esque, especially the cover design, but I heard that the story itself is as well. Again, I believe I heard that from Cameron, and it's definitely supposed to be a very, nostalgic, modern book. So that's why it's called a retro thriller at the very top there. Heard good things. The colors work. It would definitely fit for our prompt that says read a book with neon on the cover, plus Time Warp, plus Goonies, plus probably a whole bunch of other prompts it could fulfill as well. And last but not least, a continuation of a story. This is Long Live the Pumpkin Queen. I believe my friend Katrina sent me this a long time ago. I still have to get to it. I'll probably get to it one Halloween or Christmas. And of course, the reason this is nostalgic and would work if you're looking for something, because it takes place in the nostalgic Nightmare Before Christmas universe. So that's why this would work. Now, I have heard mixed things about this, but I would still like to read it and see what I think of it for myself. And this is by Shay Earnshaw. And I believe it is YA, so here we are. Next up, another YA book, Fireworks by Katie Cotungio. I can't say that right, but there is audio for this book, and I came across it while researching another book that I believe is YA. It is a Pride and Prejudice retelling, and I'd love, love, love to read this, but it doesn't have audio, and I know I probably won't get to it. And this is Pudge and Prejudice by A.K. Pittman, and it just sounds so cute. I believe it's a modern book, but it takes place back in the 90s or maybe the 80s, but it would totally fit for old school April, and it would probably fit a lot of prompts even if it didn't take place in the past. Another YA, The Mall, and there is audio for this one. If you're looking for a book with elements from the mall that would fit our Mall of America prompt, plus probably a whole bunch more. Then we've got Throwback by Marine Goo, and there is audio for that. I'm not sure if this is YA or not. This is not The Just Show by Anna Carey. I know there's audio. Again, I was just looking up books with a nostalgic flair. This one came up, so I'm not completely sure if it's YA, but it definitely would be appropriate if you're looking for things that are a little bit thematic, a little bit in the nostalgic vein for old school April. Here we've got two vintage-ish books, but this one's in a new edition. This is a new edition of Rapture by Thomas Tessier, and I did buy this from Valancourt Books. I broke my book buying ban to buy this. Oh well, I'm still reading what I own, but I did break my ban, but whatevs. It is what it is. You only live once, bitch. Anyway, this one sounds really good. It sounds like it's almost like a stalker type of scenario, and I've heard great things. I just won't be able to get to it in April, but if you're looking for any kind of paperback from hell, you could always check out the Valancourt line of the books that have been reprinted, and there are other publishers too that also republish old school books in new editions. So make sure you check Amazon. If you are looking for older books, there are a lot of ways to read them nowadays, and that includes audiobooks and ebooks, and sometimes new physical editions as well in this case. And also, when I mentioned Nelfs, like that one has all kinds of new editions out, and that's awesome because it also captures the original cover art, as does this by Valancourt Books. So you can find it in some cases, depending on what old school book you're looking for in a newer edition. Okay, and the other one I was holding up, it's not super vintage, I believe this is the early 2000s, let me look. Actually, it's older than I thought. First pocket printing, May 1998. Okay, so this is Star Trek The Next Generation, X-Men, Planet X. So it's a crossover between X-Men and Star Trek TNG. My friend Andrew says this is awesome. I would love to get to this. I keep putting it on my TBR. I put it on my TBR last year. I've had it on my TBR this year, and I never get to it. It will be read at some point this year, I'm hoping, but there's no way it's going to happen in April, even though I love Star Trek TNG, and it would totally fit the vibe of OSA. But maybe another year. Oh, but look how awesome. If you like these two franchises, you can't go wrong with something that combines them. Why not? All right, if you're looking for shorter adult books, I've got shorter things here to show you. Two are graphic novels, and my friend Andrew gave me these for my birthday. Thank you so much, Andrew. You're so sweet. He thought I would love these because there's a carnival element to these and also like a demon evil element, and I was like, hell yeah, that sounds up my alley. So you guys might want to check out this because it could fit for the killer clown prompt, which says to read a book with clowns or carnivals. This is actually like an amusement park, but I'm saying that you could stretch it, and this is so cool. So the series is Dark Ride, as you can see, and Andrew got me volume 1 and 2. So this might work for you, for your TBR, but I'll be reading this probably later in the year when I'm concentrating on amusement park and carnival themed books for a readathon later in the year. Two Adam Caesar books. I mentioned Adam Caesar in my other rec video, saying that he does a great job of writing books that feel like you're watching a movie. And I'm sure that's the case with these books, but these also have a nostalgic flair. Both of these books have nostalgic technology on the covers and probably in the story, so that would fit our VCR prompt, and I'm sure it would fit many more prompts besides that too. Here we have 0 Lives Remaining, and it takes place in an old school arcade, and a ghost apparently is trapped in the arcade. And that's pretty cool. And here we have the first one you expect. As you can see, there's like a tube TV, an old, I think this is like a high 8, I used to have a high 8 camera, tape, and it's about a guy who shoots his own movies, and then I think he has to do some horrible things to try and make it, or make the film work. Yeah, it says,
will he sacrifice the last bit of his humanity for a shot at recognition? Look at him, it makes sense. The stuff he makes, the shit he collects, I mean, he's the first one you expect.
So, that's what the back says, and that sounds intriguing, and one day I'm gonna get to this, I swear. Here we have a slasher book, and it does have old technology on the cover because we do see a cord phone, not a cordless phone, a phone with a cord, so it has to be set back in the day, I'm thinking. I've heard good things about this, that it's really bloody and brutal. This is actually part of a series of books that are very retro-inspired, Puppet Combo, and it says babysitting can be a real killer, and this is by Regina Watts. Alright, I have no idea if this is actually set in the past, but the cover screams the 70s to me. This was another gift from my friend Katrina over at the channel Katrina Brown, and she is a co-host. Thank you, Katrina. And I am saying, if you do end up picking this book up, you can count it for the time warp prompt, because to me, the cover itself has nostalgic vibes, despite if it does not take place in the 70s. To me, this is a very 70s feeling cover. And drugs are a big part of the story because apparently this girl, the main character, buys a new drug off of the dark web. And it says her consciousness shattered as something sinister takes root from within, threatening to claw into our world. This sounds really good. Katrina said she thinks I could really like this, so I will be reading it, just not in April. But you might want to pick it up in April, so that's why I'm talking about it. So this does not take place in the past, but it does have retro vibes because the front looks like it's plastered like a VHS tape would be, with all the stickers like horror, action, adventure, science fiction, 2-day rental. So you can count this for VCR because it's made to look like a tape. And even on the back it says "Be Kind, Rewind." So to me, that does mimic nostalgic technology, which is what the VCR prompt is all about. This actually takes place, I believe, at least the beginning of it says, in the year 2083, and essentially Wolf Moon. I guess you got werewolves in space. You know, B-movie type of book, so nothing revolutionary or mind-blowing, but I'm sure it's a fun, zany, good time. So here I wanted to feature this. And it would be an animal attack book if it does feature werewolves, which I believe it does. So, wolves, werewolves also would count for the Monster Squad prompt because werewolves are a monster, but they're also kind of an animal. So, Free Willy and Monster Squad, woohoo! Alright, let's go over some regular-sized adult books. So, I don't know if they are, you know, over 200 pages, but they're definitely not as short as the ones I just held up because those were very short books. This next grouping is a little bit longer. So we have got Mr. Magic, which I have not read, but it does have nostalgic technology on the cover with an old school looking TV with color bars. Here we have My Ouija Boyfriend. It does have neon colors on the cover. I know that the beginning, the prologue says it's 1997. I don't know if it stays set in 1997, but then you can fit it for the time warp prompt because it's a more modern book set back in the day. Yeah, and this just seems like fun. This is by David Irons.
She gave him her heart. He wanted her soul.
Here we've got a brand new book, I think from last year, Melonhead Mayhem. This would be so perfect for Old School April. It's part of the Killer VHS series, which I have read other books from, which was the Brian McCulley book, Candy Cane Kills. But this one I have not read, and I won't get to it in April, but in the future I definitely will be.
Have you ever wanted to live inside your favorite horror film? Prove you have what it takes to fight Freddy, destroy Jason, mangle Michael. Cousins Karsten and Sophia are in town for their grandma's funeral and are unknowingly about to live out the nightmare that is every horror fan's dream. After they find an unfamiliar VHS tape tucked away in grandma's house, they figure the worst that can happen is a few cringeworthy moments and 90 minutes wasted. Instead, the video summons the movie monsters, local urban legends called Melonheads, into their very real lives.
So this sounds like so much fun, and definitely because a VHS tape is involved, it would fit the VCR prompt because VHS tapes are in the story, and the cover looks like a VHS tape as well. So fits for that. Here we've got a book that will take place around Halloween, so it would fit the halfway to Halloween prompt. Also would fit the time warp prompt because this definitely captures Are You Afraid of the Dark 90s vibes. And so there you go, there are your nostalgic vibes. The October Society, and there's more than one. So this is season 1, and I believe it's a collection of stories. Yeah.
Approaches, the October Society gathers. They come to share their stories, tales of dark magic and crooked lies, of tragic pasts and wicked cruelty, of misguided misadventure and sinister pranks. Collected here are the first 6 episodes of the spooky show that never was, a series only found in the static between channels that can only be watched on broken TVs and dusty attics and damp basements. Tune in if you dare, because the author of My Zombie Sweetheart welcomes you to the October Society.
Here we've got a newer book that is a callback, and I think it's a retelling of a nostalgic movie, and that would be As Old as Time, A Twisted Tale. And there's a whole bunch of these. This is not the only one for sure. I have not read any of them, but I'd like to. It says, what if Belle's mother cursed the beast? So that's kind of like the alternate world we're living in this Beauty and the Beast retelling. And I think that's rather interesting. So not horror, but could be very fascinating and maybe a little bit darker, of course. So if you're interested and love Disney, you might want to pick any of these books up in the series, and it could work for you. Another shorter book, I believe, but I'm not 100% sure because I do not own it. It is Panic Playhouse. Someone sent me this the other day in our Old School April Discord, so thank you very much. This is by Remy Oliver, and it seems like it's an extreme book, so please use caution, look up triggers. You never know, it could be very hardcore, so look up triggers. Another book that has nostalgic technology on the cover would be Death Warrant by Brian Johnston, and there is audio available for that one. I have no idea how actually long this is, and I don't know if it's an extreme book. I just came across it in my research for nostalgic seeming books or books with old technology on the covers. And here we have some modern books that are all set in either the 80s or 90s. Here we have a book set in the 90s, and this is more of a Christmassy, wintry book. This is Frostbite. I heard about this from my friend and co-host Alex, the Bookubus, just to mention her again. Make sure you're subscribed. And this sounds awesome. There are attacking, I think they're warthogs? What are they? Also, there are crazy worms. There's also memory loss going on. And yeah, it just sounds like a lot of fun. And look, there's neon on the cover, so it would work for that as well. And I was hoping to get to this last Christmas, but didn't. But maybe I can get to it this upcoming winter sometime, because it just seems like my kind of book for sure. Here we have a book that has been described kind of like Stranger Things. I would love to get to this. I've owned this for like a year now, ever since I think last May, when I was looking for more old school books for this upcoming Old School April. This one came up in my research, but look at it. It's like the biggest chunker of all time, and the font's kind of small. But if you are brave and you want to check this out, it looks like it's going to be a good time. This is Strong Bones by Robert J. Peterson. Look at this amazing cover. Fantastic. It does look like it's styled like a VHS. This does take place back in 1989, and it just seems like it's a lot of fun.
It's 1989, and evil's on the loose in the Smoky Mountains. Now only a brave bunch of adventurers can stop it using their imaginations and a little bit of magic. Okay, a lot of magic.
So a group of kids facing down some evil, love stuff like that. Here's a book that takes place around Halloween, so it would fit for halfway to Halloween. It's got an old arcade machine on the cover, so that would fit for the VCR prompt. It's got neon on the cover, so it would count for that. And it takes place back in the day, so it would count for Time Warp. This takes place in 1981, and it's about to be Halloween, and it's about this creepy game. It says,
The morning was quiet, seemed no different from any other morning. Everyone is getting ready for the midnight Halloween party at Jerry's Arcade. It's been the night the neighborhood kids have been waiting for. It's been the night the college kids have been waiting for. It's been the night they have been wanting. There's a new machine being delivered to the arcade. It's ready, it's waiting, it's killer. Polybius, it's going to be game over for everyone.
More books that would fit that VCR old technology prompt. We've got Head Cleaner. I haven't heard the best things about this, but man, the cover's amazing. It is by David James Keaton. And just look at this. I love this cover so much. Another book with retro technology. This is Killa, a mixtape novella. So this is technically a novella. I didn't realize that. Oh yeah, it does look very short. So it says, a hip-hop reimagining of Gaston Leroux's The Phantom of the Opera told in the style of an epic rap. This sounds amazing. And definitely has neon on the cover too, by the way. This was a book club pick for my friend Kelly last year, but I never got to it. I still want to read it at some point. This does have music as a part of the story, so it would fit our Say Anything prompt. And it says, Hell Was a Warning, Hell Patrol by R.D. Tarver. And it seems like it was set in the past as well.
Against the backdrop of late-stage satanic panic, a coven of the almighty riff is forged in an homage to the progenitors of heavy metal. Armed with their first set of wheels and a ragtag backline of second-hand gear, the ride-or-die denim and leather-clad Hell Patrol is ready to hit the road to hone their chops. But no one ever said rock and roll was easy. With the help of some guidance, the members of Hell Patrol navigate otherworldly obstacles and small-town life as they embark on their quest towards the big stage. But before they can pursue their dreams on the road to glory, they'll have to pay their toll on the highway to hell.
Hell yeah, this sounds amazing! Only 2 more categories left, I promise. So we're gonna go through anthologies, or short story collections, and nonfiction books, and then we'll be wrapping it up. And I just want to give you guys a whole bunch of options and ideas because I've researched this for like the last 2 years, so I've compiled this list for quite a while. So hopefully all these suggestions are good, and if it's not good, I apologize. I have not read these, just to reiterate one more time. So starting off, let's go through some nonfiction books. So the one that caught my eye that's been on my radar forever, As You Wish, Inconceivable Tales from the Making of the Princess Bride. And there is audio. If you love The Princess Bride, the movie, I think this could be an amazing book to check out. And that's why I put it on my list, because I'd love to get to it one year. And we've got The 90s, a book by Chuck Klosterman. I've heard great things about this. It's nonfiction, and I think my friend Crystal read it and really enjoyed it. Then we also have The Squared Circle, Life, Death, and Professional Wrestling. And if you like wrestling, then this could give you a nice overview of, wrestling and the behind the scenes of wrestling. If you like wrestling, you probably already know about all of the stuff documented in the book, but I love to read nonfiction about wrestling, so I just put this on here as a suggestion. Have not read it, but it is on my eventual TBR. And another one we have is 90s Bitch, Media Culture and the Failed Promise of Gender Equality. I did not say that the way I usually say bitch. I said 90s bitch, but I would normally be like, 90s bitch! So there you go. That's the real way to say the title. If you're gonna say the title, you have to say it that way. 90s bitch! So check out that if you're interested. And I believe that is all of my flipping nonfiction books. Yes. First, we've got a short story collection by the author Janine Pipe. This is Twisted Tainted Tales. It looks like a VHS cover. It's got neon on the cover, and a lot of the tales are very nostalgic and also a little bit extreme, so check trigger warnings in case you're worried. Here we have an 80s themed anthology, Attack from the 80s, edited by Eugene Johnson. Some of these might be on KU, but of course I bought them because I couldn't resist owning the nostalgic looking covers. This, I think, was released in 2022. Maybe 2023. Let's see. Actually, 2021 it was published. So if you're looking for an 80s style anthology, this might be what you're looking for. A brand new freaking Goosebumps, R.L. Stine, Fear Street style flippin' anthology. It's Reader Beware, edited by Brianna Morgan and Roxy Voorhees, and this I want to get to so badly, but I know if I'm being truly realistic, which my TBR honestly isn't even realistic, but if I'm being realistic, like really realistic, I know I won't get to this, and there's actually a lot I'll talk about in my TBR that I'm not going to get to either, but I decided to feature this in my recommendation video so people can have it on their radar, because in case more people watch my rec video versus my TBR. So yeah, this definitely pays homage to R.L. Stine. Next one is another anthology, and I heard about this from my friend Amber first, a long time ago. So this is Found, and it looks like a VHS tape, so it would count for that VCR prompt. And this contains 18 stories of found footage horror. So that's really nostalgic in my opinion. I love found footage horror. This could definitely be something you pick up. And last but not least, it's a crime. It's a shame. It's an atrocity that I have not gotten to this yet, but this is, that's what I call horror, an anthology of 90s horror. And I gotta get to it. What am I doing? There's definitely neon on the cover. There's definitely nostalgic vibes, so it would count for that time warp prompt, like most of these would. And I just have a Legends of the Hidden Temple, like, bookmark thing in it, but yeah, I want to read this so bad. I just know that I'm not going to have the time. I'm concentrating on a lot of things that have audiobooks so that I can craft during the month while also listening to audio, but the physical books I'm going to read is going to be a mix of newer books that are nostalgic and also old school books that I'm going to pull off my shelves if I can make the time to read physically as much as I want to. So we will see. Because I'll be trying to watch a boatload of movies too is half the problem. And I'll be sprinting a lot. So we will just see. But I know that I'm not going to get to this most probably. But maybe in a future year. But maybe you can get to it this year. And so if you have not heard of this somehow, check it out. This was made for this event, it feels like. So okay, I almost forgot this one, but I do want to mention it real quick because it's not on my official TBR, but if everything went perfectly, if I got all of my wishes come true, essentially, then I would be able to read this book. It's Wise Guy, and this is the book that Goodfellas is based off of. So, because Goodfellas is my host movie rec, or one of my host movie recs, I was like, oh, it would be perfect if I read Wise Guy, because I've been wanting to read it for so long, because I heard, that's what the movie is based off of, but whatevs. We will see. I highly doubt I will get to that. Okay guys, that was a very long rec video, but I hope I gave you some great ideas. I know that I'm so looking forward to reading these one day, and I hope that you are too, if any of them sound interesting to you. If you need more details, make sure you look up everything on Goodreads, make sure you look up trigger warnings, because I do not know the contents of these books. But the same goes for the books that I did read and recommend. I always want everyone to be careful, so if you have triggers that you're really worried about, always try to look up things about a book in case you're worried. Alright though, what books on this list are you excited about? Will you add any to your TBR? If so, which ones? Have you read any of these? If you did, which ones? Were they good? Tell me all the deets down below in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and it's really almost here. I can't believe it. April, here we come, baby! Alright guys, but for this time, that is it for me. Till next time, you know what you can do. Keep on killing it. Bye guys. Remember, kick it old school.